there, it's Jameson with 4 Leaves Glass. Thought I would knock out a quick video or two as I was filling some leaves to do some casting. So I thought I would just show you how I do them. Primarily, I follow the instructions. So these are molds from Color de Verre. I love their molds. They do all sorts of great shapes, including leaves and snowflakes, which I have several of those, and like to use those and fire them all the time. And so this is called the Araya leaf, and honestly, I follow the instructions. I mean, really it's the glass colors that I choose, but I thought I would just show you quickly what it is that I do. So this mold weighs 1,120 grams. The fill weight, the recommended fill weight is 350 to 400 grams. So make sure you mask up if you're using powders. I'm using some fine frit, and I'm basically using 3 different colors, although clear doesn't really count as a color, I suppose. But I'm using, this is just a bottle, so pay no attention to that. I'm using Aventurine Green, fine transparent, and also light Aventurine Green. So this is the darker color, and I really just kind of sprinkle this in. I've treated this with Zip. I found that if you treat with Zip and do it well, and you don't mess around, like once the frit's in, you're not moving it around. I don't get the zip in the leaf. I try to, once the frit's down, I really try to leave it alone. I don't brush it around, I don't move it around, sweep it around, shake it around too much, because I really don't want that zip to get pulled off of the mold and into the glass. It gives you a kind of a foggy look, and that doesn't look great. I will kind of, once I've got my clear on here, you'll see I kind of knock it around just a little bit, and I kind of move it slightly so that it spreads out. But that's about the extent of it. So I'm using this dark Aventurine kind of in the middle, and then I'm going to go lighter toward the edges. And I found, for me, I like to use about 100, 110, 120 grams of colored frit, and then I do the rest as clear frit and fill in that way. So what I have here is about 50 grams of the darker. So I'm just going to sprinkle it into my mold, try to get into the corner areas. This is just an empty frit container, and I measured out and put it in here so that I could use it to kind of sprinkle, basically. So I want this to be kind of darker in the middle and then radiate out. I might go up into the leaves a little bit. That could look kind of cool. All right, that's about it. Okay, now I've weighed out my light, and so I'm going to, and with this one I want to make sure I get all the way into the tips of the leaves and kind of pile it up in the tips, because I'm going to fill in with clear, and I don't want the tips to be clear, if that makes sense. So once I fill in with clear, I want there to be enough height of the green in the edges of the tips of the leaves, really covering the whole base of this, so as not to have areas that show out clear. So now I might take a paintbrush. Like I said, I don't want to move this too much, but I want to just kind of fill in a little bit, maybe flatten it out in some areas, even it out, I should say. And I'm trying not to move too much of the frit that ends up scratching or pulling away any of that zip coating. So I'm using a very light hand, pretty small brush, and you'll see I'm just trying to get that frit to fully cover the mold in all the areas. Okay. I'm gonna spread this out so that that little raised part gets covered. Okay, so now I'm going to fill it in with clear. Okay, now I've got my clear fine frit. I find I use so much of this, I buy it, 5-pound tubs at a time. So I weighed this out in advance. I needed 225. I had 125 of colored frit. I needed 225 to get me up to 350. So I have a gram scale, and I weighed that out. So now I'm just going to kind of shake this out into the mold. I'm making a little bit of a mess, probably because I'm working too fast. But all I'm trying to do is kind of fill in and basically get get this to where the whole leaf is about even in its depth. Does that make sense? So I don't want any leaves that are particularly thin, and so just trying to spread this out so that this is generally the same thickness all the way across. So now you see here where I got some, maybe you can see, probably can't, I got some clear up on the ledge. So I'll dust that off, but I just want to be really careful when I do that, because I don't want to bring a lot of zip into my glass, because that'll show up if you're if you've got too heavy of a touch and you're scraping the zip off of your mold, then that'll show up in the glass. Now in this case, it would be on the back side. It probably wouldn't be because this will be the back of the piece. It probably wouldn't be that big of a deal, but I just don't want to do that if I don't have to. So all I'm doing is running my hand over here, just trying to make sure that it feels like it's generally the same thickness, filling in that leaf a little bit more. Again, just trying to use kind of a light touch, even hand. I may pick it up and just give it a tap or two, kind of spread it out, even it out. You're probably not seeing all that on the camera very well, but just a really light tap is kind of all you need. So now this is ready to go in. I follow the firing schedule for the most part from the manufacturer. I'll go ahead and post it down below, which is the one that I found that I like for the color and texture and fine frit that I'm using, and I'm using Bullseye glass, so I'll post my firing schedule below. Okay, so now here's what I'm gonna do. Check out this gorgeous ball mold from Bullseye that is 15 3/4 in diameter. I am going to trace out the circumference of this thing on a piece of kiln paper, and I'll show you what I'm up to next. Okay, so I made 3 of these leaves, and now that I've traced the circumference of my mold, I am actually going to fuse these together into somewhat of a contour fuse, and then I will slump them into my ball mold. So I wanted to draw the outline because clearly I don't want to make anything that's bigger than the mold itself. I'm going to get these guys cleaned up. I'm going to follow the schedule that they recommend for the fuse for this, and then we'll see what this one looks like. Right, here's the final piece. So I slumped this into Bullseye's ball surface mold. This was a 15 3/4 inch ball surface mold. I'm very pleased with this. Beautiful green colors. This is that light and darker Aventurine Green. Just very pleased with how this turned out. This firing took 42 hours to slump this piece. I followed manufacturer's directions on it, and it's a very, very low and slow because of the different variation in the glass and the thickness there. But I'm very pleased with how this turned out. I'll put some rubber bumpers on the bottom so that it sits nice on a table. And this, I don't know that this one's gonna be for sale. I think this one's going on my dining room table. I hope everybody's enjoyed kind of following along on making this piece. In total, making all 3 of the leaves, then tack fusing it, or contour, I guess, maybe tack, and then doing this slump. I mean, this thing probably spent a full 7 days in the kiln, almost, but I'm pleased with the result. I hope you've enjoyed following along. If you want to see more of my videos, just subscribe to my channel, go back and flip through. I've made 40 some odd videos now, and so maybe you'll learn something along with me. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Okay, here's some bonus footage, folks. This one does not have a happy ending, so I've got the lights turned out. With a little light table here, hoping you can see this. I got a crack right here. It runs from the edge of this leaf all the way through, and I don't fully understand why. I'm still learning, so I don't think it's an annealing issue, and I'll explain why in just a bit. I'll be honest, at one point, shortly after I filmed, I picked this up and I had grabbed it, you know, kind of on this edge here, and I think I probably applied some pressure to it, and then it developed this crack. Here's why I don't think it's an annealing issue, and this is still something I'm learning. So I've got a light table here, and I bought on Amazon some, I'll put a link in for you, but I bought these polarizing films, or polarized films. It's actually a set of 10 of them that are this size. I don't know what that is, 2x2, 3x3. And so what I did was I'm trying to understand how to use these a little bit more to identify stress in glass. And so if you've got the film down, I don't know if this is going to show up well, you can kind of, right now you wouldn't see it, but then as you turn this polarizing film gets darker, and you're supposed to be able to identify stress in the glass by seeing kind of a bright light. Basically the glass kind of glows underneath this polarizing film. So I've got a light table here. I've got one piece here, and then when you put the other piece, it kind of blocks out the light. You can see as I turn that how it gets darker. But I don't see any stress in it, so that's why I'm not sure if it's an annealing thing or not, or maybe I'm just not looking for the right thing or understanding what I'm looking for. So there's that. I did take a piece of Tecta glass. Let me put this leaf down. Hang on. I took a piece of Tecta glass, and then I took a piece of float glass, because I know these are incompatible, and I did like a little test so that I could see and understand what I was looking at. So again, as you kind of turn these, now can you see, moving this all around, can you see how that glass kind of lights up? Can you see the stress? Let me turn this off. It's like looking at an x-ray, isn't it? But can you see how that glass kind of glows and how it lights up and how it's white? It's not supposed to look like that, really. And that's because the stress, particularly down here, right by this joint, how bright that is, that's stress in the glass. And so I didn't see that though on my green piece. So I'm still learning kind of how to identify this and how to use these filters. Little quick tip for you. In this case, I'm using a light table, so I had to have a polarized lens down and then another one on top. If you've got something like an iPad, that already has a polarized film on it. So I had an app on my iPad called Lightbox that just gives me a white screen on the iPad. In that case, you don't need this base piece, you just need a piece on top. I've also heard that, and so you could see this kind of reaction without having this other piece. But this was a little 10-pack of these lenses that I bought. It's like 10 bucks, so it wasn't a lot of money. I've also heard that you could use polarized sunglass lenses to try to get the same effect. I haven't tried that yet. So there you go. Unfortunately, what I had been really excited about, this piece is just going to stay in my personal collection now because it's got a crack in it. We'll see if it cracks further. It's just going to sit on the table, so if it breaks fully or ultimately all the way through, I might try that Hextal glass glue that I've heard about that does a really nice job repairing pieces. That might work. So anyway, that's it. I'm going to wrap this up. I'll stop rambling. Hope everybody is enjoying these videos. I've got lots more in my library. Go check out another one and learn along with me. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.